Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, January 1st, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we still have a high pressure ridge dominating the entire Atlantic region, sending all of that easterly wind across the main development region all the way into the Caribbean. We can see a trough that's right there at the western edge of that high pressure dome that's right there to the north of the Windward and Leeward Islands, and we can also see a cold front that's right there offshore the eastern portion of the United States. And if we actually look back at the satellite images, we can see the clouds associated with that trough, and we can see the clouds associated with that cold front that's still affecting portions of Florida at this time with some amount of clouds and showers. We can also see that the high pressure ridge that's situated right here to the north of the main development region is sending a lot of low level clouds from east to west into portions of the Caribbean. So we can see some clouds affecting portions of Barbados, St. Vincent, portions of the Windward Islands in general, making their way all the way into portions of the ABC Islands as well. We can also see some clouds that's right there coming off of South America that's associated with some high level clouds. That's some wind shear, southwesterly wind shear that's pushing off all of those clouds into the main development region. We'll be talking more about that later. Let's talk briefly about Jamaica. Let me refresh our memories considering that it's the new year. So when we're talking about northern parishes, we're referring to Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover. When we're referring to southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, St. Andrew and St. Thomas. When we're talking about eastern, central and western parishes, we know eastern parishes are those parishes that are in the county of Surrey. So St. Andrew, Kingston, Portland and St. Thomas. Central parishes are those parishes that are in the county of Middlesex. So St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon and St. Catherine. While western parishes are those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. So in the future when we're talking about northern, southern, eastern, central and western parishes, these are what we're referring to. Let's talk about the prediction that was made yesterday for today. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across portions of northern Jamaica, spilling into portions of southern Jamaica in the afternoon. And we actually had some amount of overcast skies and some isolated showers across portions of southern Jamaica. There was a post made by Weather Jamaica at 2:11 p.m. and yes, we had a viewer, a follower who stated that yes, it's overcast, and even over on Instagram we had some people commenting. One person stated, I felt 2 single drops in Kingston. Another person said sunny and nice in St. Bess, that's St. Elizabeth, and another person, another portion of St. Elizabeth said yes, rain in St. Elizabeth. So we had some amount of confirmation as it relates to the overcast skies and the rainfall that was predicted across the island. And if we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, we can see where the actual rainfall was. So as stated, portions of some northern parishes got in on some amount of overcast skies and some amount of rain. Then in the afternoon, some buildup of clouds brought in some amount of rainfall, especially in portions of inland areas of Jamaica. Let's talk briefly about the temperatures right now. So the temperatures are going to get a bit lower as the night progresses. Right now in the evening hours, we're having 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, we have 25 degrees Celsius in Lucy, we have 26 degrees Celsius in Black River, and 24 degrees Celsius in Ocho Rios. And you can even pause the video right now to look at the temperatures across your specific area if you so wish to do so. And if we actually take a look at the temperatures for tomorrow, we can see where yes, the reds represent above average temperatures, and that's what the United States is getting at this time. But we're looking at right here, the bottom right portion So the Caribbean, we have more whites, and if we actually take a look at the Keys, we can see that those represent average temperatures. Anything in the blues represent below average temperatures. So average temperatures at this time of year in January, we usually receive anywhere from 28 to about 30 degrees Celsius across the Caribbean. And for Jamaica, we can see where we have some slight gold colors that represents at least 1 degree Celsius above average. So let's say we can get 30 degrees or 31 degrees Celsius for Monday. This is 18th on Monday. And when we calculate that, that's about 1 p.m. on Monday. And the GFS is in agreement with that, but it's showing a bit more on the average temperature side. So 30 degrees Celsius is what it's showing. If we actually take a look at the wind forecast for tomorrow across Jamaica, we're going to be having 10 to, let's say, 15 knot winds from the east, and this is shown on both the Euro and the GFS. The GFS is a bit more robust, showing more of a stronger easterly flow across portions of northern Jamaica. If you actually take a look at the precipitation forecast, however, we know that the blues represent some amount of rainfall across the island, and this is in millimeters. But what time is this? This is 12 a.m. on Monday. That's tonight, midnight, Sunday night. And we see some blues across portions of northern Jamaica. Where is that? St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And if we actually take a look at the GFS model, there is some amount of consensus. And when we have consensus like this, when both models are in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So persons on the north coast, if you have some clothes on the line, please look out for that rain tonight to get yourselves ready. And it even continues into the daytime. So 9 a.m. we're still seeing some amount of blues across portions of northern Jamaica, so St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, and some of it even spilling into portions of St. Thomas. And if you actually take a look at the GFS model, there is consensus again. There was actually some amount of rainfall that is being shown for western Jamaica during the late evening hours. This is 5 p.m. on Monday. So we see some blues across portions of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Hanover in that time. And we can also see some amount of rainfall across portions of the same areas according to the GFS model. And if you actually take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, so this is showing all the rainfall that we're expected to receive from now up until 3 on Tuesday. When we calculate that, that's about 10 p.m. on Monday. So we see all of these greens and yellows up to 0.25 of an inch of rainfall according to the Euro model, and the GFS model is showing more of the rainfall over on the eastern side, the eastern coast of Portland and St. Thomas right there. There's somewhat of an agreement and somewhat of a disagreement. We shall see exactly what unfolds tomorrow. And if we actually take a look at what was posted by our workers here at Weather Jamaica for this evening, we can see where a post was recently made, basically showing the same things. So it is stating that some amount of rainfall is predicted to affect portions of northern and eastern Jamaica on the morning of Monday, January 2nd. It was also stated that it's the dry season, so any rain we get at this time of year is very much welcome. Let's watch what happens. So we shall see. Basically the same maps that were just shown is what is being shown here. So we shall see how that unfolds. Alright, so that's it for the weather forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk briefly about the forecast across the Caribbean in general. Alright, so as stated, yes, we have some amount of clouds coming into portions of the Windward Islands. So sections of Barbados, sections of St. Vincent, Grenada, sections of Tobago, and maybe even eastern Trinidad getting in on some amount of rainfall from those low-level easterly clouds. Even portions of Puerto Rico getting in on some of that cloud cover and rainfall. We can also see some patches of clouds right there before they dissipated south of Hispaniola. We can also see a lot of clouds that came into portions of Nicaragua as well. And if we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, let's scroll down and get ourselves down into the Caribbean. So yes, we can actually see that yes, all of those low level clouds actually are carrying some amount of moisture, because the greens, as we know, represent some amount of rainfall, and we can see that rainfall across portions of the Leeward Islands. So portions of St. Kitts and Nevis, St. John's, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, especially portions of Puerto Rico. Look at those yellows and reds signifying some amount of heavy rainfall in the evening hours. Yes, they got in on some amount of rainfall in the afternoon to evening hours as well, especially western Puerto Rico. And if we actually take a look at the wider view showing the Doppler radar images, we know that Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover. We know that we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. So yes, we can see that we have some amount of rainfall across portions of Guyana as well as Suriname as well. Let's talk about the wind forecast for tomorrow. So we can see where we're going to be having more of an easterly to east northeasterly flow across portions of the eastern Caribbean, easterly flow across portions of the greater Antilles, including Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, and Hispaniola. And if we actually take a look at the GFS model, there is consensus with that easterly flow across the basin. And let us take a look at the Saharan dust forecast as well. So it's showing Sunday right now. Let's go into Monday, January 2nd. So we can see where, yes, we have some slight browns coming in. This is 2 p.m. on Monday into portions of the eastern Caribbean, so the Leeward Islands, the Windward Islands. We might have some amount of hazy conditions across portions of Trinidad and Tobago and portions of Venezuela and Guyana as well. But the Saharan dust will be dissipating by the time it gets to the Central Caribbean or the Western Caribbean. So Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Jamaica is in the clear. Let's talk about the precipitation forecast, however. We can see where, yes, we have some amount of rainfall predicted for Jamaica as shown earlier. We have some amount of rainfall that's predicted for portions of the eastern sections of Cuba, portions of Hispaniola, portions of Puerto Rico, portions of Guadeloupe, look at this, portions of Barbados, as well as sections west of Barbados. So even that rainfall that we saw right now on the satellite images, that could be what is being shown here, because this map shows all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Tuesday. When we calculate that, that's 10 p.m. on Tuesday. So they could already be getting the rainfall that's shown here, or they could still have more rainfall to receive later on tomorrow up to 10 p.m. So we can also see a lot of rainfall being shown here across portions of Costa Rica and Nicaragua according to this Euro model. So up even into an inch of rainfall. We can see the key right here that represents up to 1 inch of rainfall expected, and the GFS model is showing something very similar with these very areas that were just mentioned. So even Guyana, same places, Costa Rica, Nicaragua getting in on some amount of rainfall from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. Not so much for the Gulf of Mexico. Remember, we had that cold front last week that brought a lot of rainfall to portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, including Mexico, Belize, and Honduras. Not so much right now. We still have some amount of rainfall up into 0.3 inches of rainfall being predicted on the Euro model for Belize, for eastern portions of Belize. The GFS model is in some agreement as well with the amount of rainfall. So we shall see what happens with that. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.